Please welcome poet and community organizer, Louis Tan Vital.
Good evening, Diebold. How are we doing tonight? Good. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. My name is Louis Tan Vital, and I'm here with you tonight to tell you about the story about how I acted bold in the face of my congressional breakdown. But before I begin, I would like you to raise your hand if you've ever called your congressional representative. Yeah, okay, that's like half of you. That's really great. If you happen to call your Washingtonian congressional representative in the summer of 2017, there's a really good chance that I was the one who answered your call. I was working in Congress at the time that was marked by heightened fear. We had the Muslim ban, we had the shooting of Steve Scalise, we had the London terror attack. And it was really difficult for me because when I was working in Congress, every day people would call our office scared and terrified. They would ask us, what is our congressman doing to fix the problems that we have in our country? And I would put on a really bold tone and I would try to placate their fears, but it was really difficult because as a young woman of color, it almost felt hypocritical for me to be trying to placate marginalized communities when I could feel that same anxiety in my chest threatening to erupt from my throat. I thought, what does that mean for me? What does this mean for my community? I confess to you that I don't know, and I admit that I was scared. Maybe a better question is, why am I seeking answers from institutions that were not meant to serve people who look like me? That's why I'm working in politics today, because I'm looking for answers. And maybe I will find them, maybe I won't. But I was thinking about what it meant for me to be working as a young woman of color in Congress in this inaccessible place of power. And I thought about how my family immigrated across the world for me to even have the opportunity to step foot into Congress. My existence and my body here in this country is an extension of my parents' immigration narrative. As a Filipino woman, I believe in this value that's called utang na loob, which in English roughly translates to inner debt. Within me, I have this sense of inner debt towards my ancestors and my community, to my country, that I will fight for the change that I have the privilege to even dream about. We had a lot of hate mail in the office, and there was one moment where we received about 30 pieces of hate mail. And being the person who answered the phone all the time, it was my duty to answer and read every single piece of hate mail that we received. It was my job to know what our constituents were thinking, right? And I would read all of it, and I would internalize all of it until one day I couldn't do it anymore. And I read all 30 pieces, and I just started crying. I just started sobbing. And I ran out of the office, I went into the hallway in Congress, and I just collapsed on the floor, and I just sobbed and sobbed into my pencil skirt. And in that moment, I was like, wow, is this what I want to be doing? I can't do this anymore. And I thought about my family who brought me here to this country just so I could even have the opportunity to be in Congress. And I thought about the community that raised me to even be there in the first place, right? And I got back up, I stopped crying, and I went home. I actually developed a fever that night. I don't know if you ever got sick from being so stressed. Well, that happened to me that night. I went home and I wrote a piece on Facebook about what had happened to me that day and what it was like working as a young woman of color in politics. And to my surprise, that piece went viral, accidentally. That's not what I intended to happen. And from that, I ended up writing a poem. I'm a poet, I'm a spoken word poet, and that's how I process what happens to me, is I wrote a poem about what it was like to accidentally go viral. And I was so fortunate to have performed that piece all over Washington, D.C. I ended up doing newspaper interviews, I did a radio interview, and that experience culminated in the highlight of the summer, where I was able to use that poem to declare my ambition to run for office using a spoken word piece on a global news network. And that's what you see on the screen there. So I titled that piece Congressional Breakdown. Is that poem something that you're interested in hearing tonight? Yeah? Great. And so this piece is called Congressional Breakdown. Power, privilege, sex, money, and fear. I broke down in Congress, slumped against the hallway, my sobs bouncing off the high ceiling. Is this business as usual? Working for Congress is like always being in crisis mode. 9 a.m., latest terrorist attack. 9:02, internalized abuses on the phone. 9:06, sound robotically pleasant with tears fresh on my face. Hi there, thank you so much for calling the office of Congressman. Black people and Muslims are domestic terrorists. They don't belong in this country. My name is Louie, how can I help you? Breaking news just in, 28 people were killed in what is being considered a terrorist attack in London. Crouched in the hallway, sobbing into my pencil skirt, absorbing every racial slur into the lines of my forehead. And yes, I have gray hairs at 23, and no, I don't know how to eat or sleep. You Asians are turning the city into Chinatown. You need to go back to where you came from. Where you come from. Where I come from martial law and activists disappearing in the night. I come from filthy Manila sidewalks begging for pesos. Where I come from, we would have given anything to even kiss the ground of these hallways that I am breaking in. But that's the beauty in it, right? That my family could crush the Pacific Ocean so I could cradle this democracy that allows you to break me. What a privilege to fall apart on these marble steps. What a privilege to break in this hallway and have my community pick me back up. Because my family did not immigrate for me to be silent. And next time you call, my hands won't be clutched on the phone, silent tears on my face. My hands will be too busy, one high and proud in the air, the other on a holy book being sworn into office, because I swear to you that I will run. I will run for my ancestors, that yung mga kababayan ko. I will run for this country that is rightfully ours too. I will run right through every insult you try. And next time you call, you will catch your breath as I answer, hello, this is Representative Vital. How can I help you? And when the day arrives that I see people that look like me walking these halls of Congress, I will know that yes, this is business as usual. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I use performance arts as my means to declare my intent to run for office. At the time that I wrote that poem, I had heard about this organization called Ignite National. Ignite National is the nation's largest nonpartisan 501c3 that's dedicated to instilling political power in young women. And at that time, I heard their campaign to declare your ambition, and that's what I did. I declared my ambition. I joined the organization, and I learned about the double standards for women in politics. I learned about how women comprise 50% of our population, yet at the same time are only 22% of elected office at every level of government on average. And if you look at the intersection of racism, and sexism, then you realize that it's even harder for women of color to be involved in politics. Raise your hand if you know who this is. Who is it? Someone shout it out. Yes, Pramila Jayapal. She is my role model, and I hope to be like her one day. And why running for office? Like, why elected office? Why all of this? Sometimes people think that, oh, you just want to run for office because you want to see your name on a sign. But no, I am an unapologetic social justice activist, and I know, and the reason I see elected office is the highest platform for an activist to instill the institutional change that they believe in, that they dream in. And hopefully one day I'll be there too, so that I can bring the change for the community that I love so much. But why is it even dangerous, right? If you don't have the correct representation that we need, because that means that you will have folks who are in office writing laws about us without us, and that's dangerous, right? So it's been 3 years since that happened. It's 3 years since I declared my intent to run for office. Where have I been since then? Well, I went to grad school. Do we have any Huskies in the house? Yeah. Yes, I just recently finished my master's at the UW-Evans School of Public Policy and Governance. And thank you. It was a lot of tears, but good tears. Now I'm living and working in Washington, D.C., where I'm able to use my voice and lend my voice to campaigns that I care about. I'm working at the intersection of progressive politics, political advocacy, and communications, and I love every single second of it. And I know that when I look at this conference and when I think about my story in the context of what's happening in this country, when I'm asked, what does it mean to be bold? What does it mean for you all to be bold? Every day I make the intention, I make the choice to be bold. It's the words that I speak out into the universe. It's how I declared my intent to run for office. It's my cultural aware of my country. It's the energy that I bring into the space here with you all tonight. And what keeps me bold is a fire that I have for racial and gender equity in every American institution. It's the overwhelming love that I have for our community. And so if you ever find yourself in a space where you are just on the ground, sobbing into your skirt, not knowing what is the next step in your life, I want you to think about what centers you. I want you to remember who and what you are fighting for. I want you to remember the communities that you love. I want you to remember the communities that raise you. And I promise you, you will have the opportunity to pick yourself off the ground, and you will have the strength and the courage to be bold. Thank you.